Welcome, everyone, to our first meeting of the Sturbridge Historical Society for the year 24-25. My name is Doug Quigley. I'm the current president. On behalf of the other officers and the various committees that have helped put the program together, we'd like to welcome you and thank you to our meeting. Tonight's a special event. I'd like to also welcome Mr. Briere, Bob Briere, and his family to join us tonight. We're going to go through a few program items, and then I'm going to turn it over to Wally, and then we'll begin our evening program. You're going to learn a lot about Mr. Briere and the town of Sturbridge, and there we go. I don't know if anybody was in town on September 3rd, the Tuesday after Labor Day. We had an event across the street, co-sponsored by the Sturbridge Historical Society, as well as Old Sturbridge Village, and we welcomed the Marquis Lafayette to Sturbridge. He was invited on the 50th anniversary of the United States by President Madison. He accepted. He came over here, and he ended up spending a year and a half visiting all the states, many cities, many towns, and he was welcomed, as they say, like a rock star. He had been a general during the American Revolution, very young. I think he was 18 years old, and for that reason, he was still alive and able to travel. So he came to the United States, and he spent a year and a half traveling. And among his travels, he came to Charlton, Massachusetts at 4 o'clock on September 3rd, and at 6 o'clock, he arrived in Sturbridge, on the Sturbridge Common, being led by fife and drum music, walking through an arch of greenery, being welcomed by the Sturbridge militia, some Revolutionary War veterans, and a firing of a cannon. This is all from an article at the time. So on Tuesday, this past September 3rd, Lafayette arrived on the Common, marching up Charlton Street to fife and drum music, a militia, some Revolutionary War veterans. We entered the Common through a large green arch to the firing of a cannon, compliments of Old Sturbridge Village, and he gave some very kind words on the Common. So it was just a great event, once in a lifetime, to do it on the same day, the same place, the same time, just 200 years later. So it was a good event. Coming up this fall, on October 5th, Saturday, 10 a.m., I'm just going to read it so I don't miss any of the details. Ed Hood will do a walking tour of Tantascwa. That's the area up on top of Stallion Hill. Its walking tour will discuss the history of the Sturbridge lead mine, explore the site of the mine, and then follow the hiking trail around the site and out to the Robert Crowd Archaeological Site. The tour will last about 1 hour, cover about a mile of trail. Some of it's a little uneven, and we recommend registration. If you want to take that tour, you can contact our website, skipquig@gmail. Robert Crowd, he was in the 1820s, 30s, he worked at lead mines. Old Sturbridge Village did an archaeology dig up there, and I believe Ed Hood participated in that, so it'll be a very informative walking tour. Thursday, October 24th, we'll have a regular meeting here, and on that night we'll have Christy Higginbottom and Bruce Craven discussing Finding William Lewis. William Lewis was a gentleman who lived from 1819 to 1897. He kept a diary his entire life, and Bruce and Christy bought a trunk that was filled with his diaries at an auction. They got home, they started going through it, and they were missing about 5 years. In researching, they went to the site of the house that he lived in. They went there, it was being sold, and the guy says, "Oh, we just found this trunk up in the attic," and they found the missing 5 years. So they've written a book about him, and he was a farmer and early involved in plants, and should be very interesting. Thursday, November 21st, we're going to have Doug Lyon and Mike Foran talk about the John Hines pottery kiln, which is located in Holland. I never knew about this. I guess it was a pottery kiln. A potter by the name of John Hines ended up in Holland. He had a huge kiln, similar to the one in Old Sturbridge Village, a big brick kiln. And about 30, 40 years ago, Old Sturbridge Village went there and did an archaeology dig, and they found the base of it, so they know exactly where it was. They found pieces of pottery and So these two gentlemen will be doing a program talking about the John Hines Pottery Kiln. And just two more, next year, 2025, on the 23rd, Bob Arnold, a local resident, will talk about a family's 1927 auto trip across the United States. This is fascinating. His grandfather, in 1927, took his wife and I guess a couple kids, and he jumped in whatever car he drove in 1927, and they drove around the United States, all out west, down in Florida, to many where they are currently national parks. But he particularly spent a lot of time in the Southwest at an Indian reservation. It was one of the earliest recordings of that society, their lifestyle, their food, their buildings. And this is just a few years before they disallowed photography, so it'll be a very rare and informative program about the trip across the country in 1927, but particularly about the Southwest. And the last one we have scheduled so far is February 27th. Our own Rich Paradis will talk about covered bridges of Massachusetts. We'll explore the technology and the history of the bridges found throughout our state. So hope you can join us for any or all of those programs. They are on our website. If you've had a chance to sign up, become a member. If you haven't, please do. We'd love to have you. And you'll get the information via newscasts on our website and emails. So with that, I'd like to introduce Wally Hearsay, who will conduct this program, and we're going to welcome longtime Sturbridge resident, Bob Briere.
Yay!
Can anybody hear me? Hear? Okay. All right. Make sure these mics are a lot better than what we were using last year. Now, I want to welcome everybody, like Doug had just done. I'm going to be sitting here almost like a PBS type of thing with Mr. Briere tonight, discussing things in these nice, comfy chairs. I have a screen slideshow presentation that will accompany us as we're going along, and there'll be talking points, and Bob will trigger Bob's memory for 90 years. Bob has lived in Sturbridge for 1/3 of Sturbridge's existence. That's kind of hard to believe, but it's true. And Bob did tell me that he could take 90 years of life and living and put them into an hour's worth of time. With me on the safe side, I've gone ahead and ordered breakfast for everybody here. So Bob just handed me some of his notes. I have my notes, no teleprompter here. And we'll start next, but I was talking to Sylvia, his wife, and Bob's motto, you see on the thing there, is I can do that. All your life, you've done that. You've done all these things in town. History, everything else you've done for the town, for all of us. I can do that.
Who had more fun than I did?
So that type of attitude, that type of personality trait, that's formed very, very early on. But I want to share with the folks here tonight your early life here in Sturbridge. You lived, your family lived at the fairgrounds.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that one?
Well, I was born in Southbridge on a 3-decker, second floor, with a midwife helping deliver me. And we were there for 3 years, and we came to Sturbridge. I'm not sure how my father got the job he got. I don't know if he knew anything about it. But he became the caretaker, I guess, of the fairgrounds. There should be 2 pictures over there on the table of the fairgrounds. As I remember, is the way it was when we got there. You had a fair. Half-mile dirt racetrack built in 1868 for horses with sulkies. How many of you do not know what a sulky is? Well, we got a few.
Now this harness track was right where CBS is now, right where the Host Hotel is. That's where the fairgrounds were, and that's where your family lived.
Yes.
Yeah,
There's a big house on the right side of the track as you look at the photograph, and that's where our apartment was. There are 5 rooms in the apartment, The back end of that was what my mother called the loft. And I remember going in there, there's hay on the floor, and some trap doors. The trap doors, when we hang in it, we'll drop the bodies down. Maybe not. Found out that down below the trap doors were what I call a manger in each room. The prize racehorses were housed there. The rest were in barns down behind, well, where the Yankee Stirrups is today. That's where the horse barns are, cattle barns. With the half-mile dirt racetrack, what came next had been, nobody had it, I think. But the racehorses would come. When man got in the sulky, it's a two-man carriage like a chariot. I assume it's a leather seat suspended in between the wheels. And he would talk to the horse and have the horse's reins in his lap as they go around the race. These men, unlike a lot of men in sports today, were true gentlemen. They were gentlemen with the public, they were gentlemen with each other. When the start would get the race going on the right side, we made the grandstand on the left. On the right side was a judge's stand, a stage, and a bandstand. And the announcer would be up there in the tower building. Calling, gentlemen, you ready to start? They would go down the track in the opposite direction and get oriented to where they're supposed to be in line. Then they'd stop the horses and they'd come trotting down. Sometimes you can see it on a Saturday anyway, maybe during the week they'll go to a racetrack where it is with sulkies and horses, and it's something to watch. It's easy to tell these horses from the race horses of today that going for all their work. These horses are very gentle, and the sound you heard was tap, 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 as the hooves hit the track. If somebody wasn't catching up to the rest of the horses, or they got disoriented, whatever it may be, the star would say, gentlemen, let's do it again. Nobody got out of sulky and yell, no, let's go, I'm up front. They would all line up, go back, and they'd come back down. Then they'd be a nice line, horse and horse, and then he would stop it. And then the race was on.
Bob, how long did you live at the fairgrounds? Your family lived there before you moved on?
You asked the hard ones first, huh?
Yeah.
Into the war years.
Then you moved to Farquhar, and then the next slide I have up there is your early upbringing from your folks in town caused you to do an awful lot for us, whatever you were brought up as, how you were brought up. If you notice, you got a few awards over your lifetime.
I thought you were going to say you got a big mouth. Yeah, that's it.
That's a great shot. But you've had a few awards awarded to you. The Firefighters Benefit Association, the Tri-Community Exchange Club, the Book of Good Deeds. These are just a few of them. The Rosario Chamberlain Award for Outstanding Service to the Community. Lions Club, you were past governor of the Lions Club. And the Commonwealth of Massachusetts State Senate Official Citation. There's so many more that you have done. They come, obviously, it's a genetic thing, but it's also your upbringing and the people in town. Most recent one is one that I was fortunate enough to attend this summer in June with you and Sylvia at Fort Devens, when you got the Mass History Association Alliance, Star Award for your tribute to Sturbridge history, which was an amazing thing. It was a few hundred people there, and Bob was nominated by many folks here in town, and he accepted that award there. It's a wonderful thing.
I'd like to make a point. If you get involved in life and do these things, you don't do it for awards or rewards. You do it because you want to do it. That's the way I've always felt about it. If something comes along, even if it's just one person comes up and says, Thank you. I appreciate what we did today. That's thanks. That's great. And I appreciate it. But a lot of these awards was not anticipated whatsoever.
It was a training that you had early on in life, and also your time in the Air Force. And that's the other thing, is you spent a time in the early 1950s during the Korean War effort, period. You spent time in the Air Force, and you also were continuing to serve our country then. You spent time in Japan and Korea and Florida, and that must have left quite a mark on you too. It obviously did, 'cause we see it every day.
I was going to say that towards the end, maybe I can interject it now. When I was with the light bomber group of B-26s, which were extinct pretty much when I got over there, but they were still using them. Korean War was still on. I went in February, and armistice was called in July. These bombers, my job was to go in and check the communications equipment on the plane, talk to the pilot if he had any problems with the communications. If we did, it was an exchange unit. You take the old one out and put another one in and replace it. We moved all the aircraft and all the personnel to Japan. I had probably 10 years to go. When we went to Japan, we found out we're going to Florida. There's a big difference between Busan, Korea, and Florida in the States. When I went to process out, this is my only war story. The lady doing the processing said, "Oh, you're flying back." I said, "No, ma'am. I'm going on the ship with most everybody else." She said, "No, you're flying back." "Ma'am, I'm not flying back. I'm going back on the ship. They told me I'm going to be a courier." I still don't know what the courier was supposed to do, because I didn't do anything different than all the other guys. Mid-Pacific announcement. Oh, she came back and said, "Oh, you're right. You're going back by ship." We were mid-Pacific Ocean in the morning, started off, and usually the loudspeaker announcement about whatever on the ship. That airplane that I'd have been on had problems with their radio equipment, nav equipment, and they left Hawaii and coming back towards the state. They supposedly had fixed the problem back in Hawaii, but it was still not right. And they hit a mountain, and everybody on board was killed. I'm glad to be here tonight. Trust me. I've seen the pictures of that aircraft.
I'm glad you're here. Now, when you got back out of the service, you did a couple of things that was kind of interesting. And one of them I don't have a slide for, but I'll ask you that in a second. But I do have a slide for this one here. And this is a great photograph. And
This is for a guy that don't drink. Didn't drink then either.
the Anacreon Society. Tell us, now if you look up there, we forgot, there's you, right there, singing, and all these other gentlemen here. There's Dr. Ralph Monroe, John Chen, Alvin W. Green, and Sophocles E. Coleus, and Durbin M. Wells, Robert J. Briere, and also I mentioned that it's Arthur J. Schrader.
Schrader was already, he was the balladeer on the common of the village. And
What did you guys get together for? What was this organization for?
This was the Anacreontic Society. Something of it you don't know. Pay attention now, it's important. You've all sung the Star Spangled Banner. Who wrote the words? Yeah. Who knew it? Who is it? Yes, Francis Scott Key. How about the melody? Da, 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 da. It was about a Greek god, an Anacreon. This was a drinking song in England in the pubs. To an Anacreon in heaven handful bleed, the melody. That is the beginning, and almost no one knows that. At the village, Art Schrader, the man on the right-hand corner, which I said the balladeer, but I called him at the village. And he formed a group, along with John Cheney, who was a fantastic music teacher. And they talked to us about, we got volunteers to be in the group, and told us it was music that we had never seen before. A lot of it was interesting. Some of it was against England, against the king, but whatever. And we were called Disturbance in Patriotic Society. There were those that say they may preemptive, but either way. But our biggest event that I remember is going to Winter Tour Museum in Delaware, when we performed on one of their opening nights. And we did this. This is the first time I drank beer. Because they throw them out, and it was a drinking song originally, so they're trying to recreate what they did in England, I guess. It's actually pretty good to me, but I just thought I did not drink too much of that, I'll get to like it.
During the election of 1960, you had been in bed with a fellow townsman in town, and apparently you lost that bet.
Well, that was between Kennedy and Nixon. I was independent, but I usually voted Republican. The rest of the town knew that, I guess, what I did. Anyway, we were both on the fire department. We got into an argument about who was going to win the presidency. And I said, oh, Nixon's got it hands down. Oh, no. It's Kennedy. He's local. The argument went on. I said, I bet you Nixon will win. He said, what do you want to bet? I said, I'll bet you loser takes the winner from the town hall at a high noon on Saturday and wheels him all the way up to Fiskville to the fire station. Okay, he says. Well, you know Kennedy. And I'm not going to back down. So I get the wheelbarrow. I think I even wheeled him down to the town hall in the wheelbarrow. We're coming back, horns are blowing, people are yelling, and he's carrying a big sign. He voted for Nixon, or whatever it said. Oh, rub it in a little bit. I made the trip, he made the trip, and we got back, and our sides were so sore from laughing. We had a great time doing it. People were yelling out the windows at us. Sometimes it pays to lose.
You spent 50 years of your life winning for other people as well. I mean, you lost that particular one. But you spent 50 years of your life as a lion. And you also with the district governor as well. And you did an awful lot with that. And this slide here, you'll see here, that's, how did the Lions Club end up in the old fire station?
Well, the fire department built a new building with a police and fire department, and the firemen moved out. And they just sat there and sat there. And I went down to the town administrator at the time and said, you know, it's not being used. The Lions Club would like to make use of it, and we could have our meetings there, and anybody wanted to use the space could do it. So it was agreed upon, and we took over the old fire station and had our meetings. Had a little problem in the wintertime. The fans that they had were kind of suspended up, and it sounded like a P-47 when the heat came on. Also, next to Fred's Variety is a brook. It's down from, I can't remember the man's name. There's a little pond behind that. As you go up Brookfield Road, off to the left behind the two stores, there's a small pond. That water came down through, went underneath the fire station, and that didn't get any warmer either in the wintertime. And went down through Fiskville, was taken through pipes, and all of that water went into the river. Along with what was coming out of all those houses in those pipes. That is why Fiskville, with the sewers put in before the disturbance ended, they had to clean up the water. Because I was getting smelly. I don't know what the problem was.
On the side of the photo there is a smaller photo, and that's a bronze plaque that's on the side of the bandstand. And that's because the Lions had also sponsored to put in the lighting around the town common. And they had a local craftsman put that in, and it was, when you were a Lion, they put that in.
Yeah.
That was a great idea. That was a wonderful thing.
That was part and parcel with the bandstand.
Yes, that was well done in that regard. Well, is there any particular, the bandstand and the lighting and stuff, one particular project or whatever that the Lions have done that you were particularly proud of that you were done?
No, I think that's probably one of our, it was our biggest project.
Yeah.
We get a lot of help. You know, we talked about the bandstand, boss.
Well, I do have a slide about that.
Oh,
I want you to talk a lot about that.
Okay. But we gave it up after a while because we didn't have that much of a membership. And they wanted to go out for, like most Rotary, Lions, Exchange, go out to dinner and have the meeting after the meal. So we didn't get served meals up there. And so we finally decided, well, if we're that and cold in the wintertime, we'll find a place to go. And I'll give credit to one man, Michael Glick, who was, I call the innkeeper. I think I'm the only one in town that calls him the innkeeper. That's what it was at Jesus' time. The guy around the hotel was an innkeeper. He said to me one day, he said, Bob, you still meeting in the library? I said, yeah. He said, well, why don't you meet here? And I said, because we're getting 7 or 8 members in the Historical Society. Notice there's a lot more than 7 or 8 people in here tonight. And I appreciate seeing so many of you. And he says, no, he said, I don't care how many come. He said, we'll serve a meal and we'll have coffee available. And I said, sold. So the Lions have been meeting here ever since. And very happy. And coffee is up there. We always service nice hot stuff in the pastry for dessert. So it's a lot better than sitting in a cold room.
When you weren't singing in pubs and being a Lion, you were a postman for a number of years, a mail carrier. And you did that, and I think I heard you speaking to somebody earlier that your route was part of it was down the hill. But you also did something, and if you didn't have a project in front of you, that's the whole idea. When Bob didn't have a project in front of him, like the bandstand, the common lighting, or something else in town, or working for the Lions in another capacity, he's always looking for something to do. So you had an idea with the Postal Service, you brought it to your superiors. And
you hear who's giggling, huh?
And so tell us about Captain Safety.
Well, when you work for the post office, you're supposed to be literally white. You do everything by the book. You be careful what you dress in. You don't go in high heels on the workforce floor. You don't speed on the highways. You don't run over dogs and hit little kids. And you get a safety talk once a month. All the post offices, as far as I know, get a safety talk from the postmaster or his designee. And I said, I wonder if somebody went around to do these safety talks. You have to be dressed somewhat different than a postal uniform. I also watched NASCAR racing. I think it's a neat uniforms. So I was called into Worcester and said, we would like you to do this job. And I said, okay, I can do that. And I came up with the idea, I'm going to make some captain bars. Captain bars was on a jumpsuit, white with blue and red stripes. It says red, white, blue. I thought that was pretty neat. And I couldn't wait to go to the first post office and wait for everybody to laugh. And Captain Safety came, sit right on it, safety. And I got my captain bars. And I told Sylvia about that. She, sometimes she'll just break out laughing. And I said, oh, she's been thinking about Captain Safety again. But my job is to go around and watch the mail carriers. If I saw a violation, I had a look, riding up, shoemaker just spoke to him and said, you know, you've heard this message a number of times. You get out of that wheel and you go in the place, you carry the keys with you. You don't leave it unlocked, with the engine running sometimes. And I did find Gary's doing that. I got the same guy twice. And I think it was in Grafton. I said, didn't you learn the first time? This time, I'm giving this to your postmaster and he'll do it. But he's probably one of the few that I ever had to do it. Usually just the fact that somebody watching. And I would do a post office today, but I wouldn't go out on the road that day, that post office. I'm going to drive the other end of Worcester County and watch vehicles. Most carriers were careful. They didn't want to meet up with me again anyway. They also didn't want to have to meet their postmaster because they did something that all of you are aware of.
On that same line, you were a postal carrier. You had a thing you told me about. Stallion Hill Road had been Red Mine Road all the way down until it came to Main Street. For some reason, they changed the name and they didn't do it the right way. You have a thing with names in town, and a couple of things that you told me about is Lead Mine Pond and Walker Pond, and along with the Stallion Hill debacle, which that shouldn't have happened, it has apparently. But just on the topic of names and changes, things like that, what was it about Walker Pond?
There's no such place in Sturbridge as Walker Pond. If you live there, your deed is wrong if it says Walker Pond. There is no Walker Pond in Sturbridge. Used to be when the Walkers were the only ones living up there, I think. They probably called it Walker Pond. It's Lake and Street voted an annual town meeting in 1938.
1898.
1898.
I found it, I was doing some research at the town hall the past month or so, and I found the town meeting where the article was voted on and it was passed. It was changed from Walker Pond to Lake Cantusquin.
In honor of Native Americans that lived here first, before the white man came. And after the high school was built, there was a naming contest. And that's why you see the name Tantascwa today. The same thing happened there. The winning name chosen for the high school is Tantascwa.
Now, this particular slide here, I know means an awful lot to you. You were a school bus driver here in Sturbridge for 20 years. And I know there's some people here in town that were your students on the Happy One.
Vincent Hammon's here tonight too, and I'm glad to see you there.
Yeah, and they had, what made the Happy Bus, the Happy Bus? And tell us a story about, you had written had it painted on the front there, the Happy One. And your students that were in that bus had a history of doing some unique things as a group. Can you share that with us?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Those are the happy days. I needed a part-time job, my postal service job. My route wasn't that long, and I had to be done by noontime, and my pay showed that I wasn't getting paid for other carriers. Let me just touch on the villages of Sturbridge. There are 7 villages in Sturbridge. That includes Sturbridge Center. You've got the Carbon District, which is 131 going into Southbridge, where there are a group of houses, and there's a garage that just got refurbished. And you have Lead Mine District, which is down by the graphite mine. Read it on the town seal. It doesn't say the lead mine. It says, yeah.
Graphite.
Graphite.
Yeah.
I get excited about this. And then you've got Sturbridge Center. Snellville. The Snell brothers back in the late 1700s, early 1800s established the auger shop. Augers are the carpenter's tools to bore holes with the big race. Sturbridge was known because it had long auger bits. Nobody else was making it. And they were used when they refurbished the Constitution, thank you, Ollie. When they did it, those rubber bits were made here in Sturbridge. Reconstructed because they could bore through the wide beams that they were using to build the ship. So the auto shop got its name because of that. The Snells were here early, the family Snells. And so that area from the west side of Cedar Street to the east side of on the road, the Snellville. Beyond that was the village of Fiskdale. And we got the village up north there that was called Lake Tantusquee, but somebody changed the name and now they got it. All they got to do is convince everybody they should change the mailing address to Lake Tantusquee. But anyway, I needed a part-time job and I found out they had some job openings driving a school bus. I said, well, I've got afternoons and I've got 3 children. They need to be fed. And if I don't go to work, the mother's going to have to go to work. That's probably not going to fly too well, and she did it. But we started driving the bus. We had bus number 1. And I thought, we're going to do something about this. So I went to a man that did painting, painted automobiles and roadside signs and so forth. I said, can you paint something on the bumper? I said, I got a good bunch of kids in my bus. I don't have to tell them, cut it out. I don't have to say, you don't sit down, I'm going to make you walk. They're really a good bunch. And they're happy. I'm happy. I'm happy because they're happy, they make me happy. You know how that goes round and round. I want the happy one, and then on the front bumper. And you see there, it says happy one too. So we wore up the bus, I guess, and so they gave us another bus. And Stripes hadn't changed the one to a Roman numeral 2, so we got a happy one too. A lot of people knew about the happy one. I remember going into the school one day, and I had been grumbling about the changing report cards in Burgess School. The people weren't too happy because they went from A, B, C's and so forth to 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, and the teachers were supposed to go. What the potential was of the students, that's the way I understood it. And I had one teacher say, I can't tell the potential that little kids have. It is ridiculous. So, Mrs. Wall was the principal at the time. She showed me the car and said, I understand the happy one's not too happy. I said, oh boy, the boss lady knows now that I got a bumper that says happy one on it. I said, no, I'm not happy because I'm hearing parents grumbling about the report cards. And I'm not their spokesman, but she said, I understand that. And then she gave me a reason for it. I don't know what they use nowadays. They need a stick for somebody.
But didn't your students on the bus, they raise money for doing different things, and they were in ski trips, and they had dances? And
They were planting trees on the common, and I asked for one. And they were given a flowering apple tree, flowering crab tree, this is the proper name for it. And the bandstand it with them. And I said, let's get you back to planting a tree. So I said to them one day, tomorrow, when you come out of school, we're going to stop on the common. And you kids are going to plant a tree. And later in life, when you come by as an adult, the children you know, take a look over there, you can tell your kids, I helped plant that tree. And in the springtime, it was gorgeous. Now, it has disappeared. And I'm not sure why it disappeared, and I don't want to start a war with the person I think that caused it. Anyway, that's what I said, but the kids really appreciate it. I said, I understand you don't have any dances to go to at the school. No, we'd like to have some dances once in a while, but nobody wants to do it, teachers don't want to do it, they don't want to strap do it. Well, we'll do it. I see a guy standing in the back up there now. Chucky, was it fun riding on the bus?
It's a great time.
Well, we had to dance. The police volunteered their time and stood by because I've got kids from all 5 towns came to the dance. I said to them when we started, I said, girls, I want you to do some baking, make cookies and things like that. that we can serve and people can go upstairs in the town hall and we'll do the dancing. I'm sorry, bring the downstairs and have a snack if they want. The dancers upstairs. And so we can do that. Guys, I don't know who you might know or heard of. You get the band to play. What I didn't know is there was a combo of students at Tantascwa playing together already. And that's who they hired. And we had a great turnout of young people. We had no problem. The police were welcome amongst them and everybody was cool. No, the end result was we made, I don't know, $40 or 50 cents a head. We charged them so I thought we could have a little till and do things with it. Come winter, one kid says, Bob, I love the kids even though they can call me by my nickname rather than the stern say, I'm Mr. Briere, remember to forget it. And he didn't call me Bob, as long as you do it respectfully. And they said, okay, and they did. So from the bus this boy says, Bob, would you take us skiing? Yeah, sure. I can do that. I'll see Mr. Wilson, get to use the school bus on a Saturday. We'll go. They said, where do you want to go? They said, oh, Mount Snow. Okay. I asked him, where's Mount Snow? Way up in Vermont. I said, what? I say something, I mean it. If I say something, I'll do it. Okay, we're going to Mount Snow. Oh, the kids are happy because in Mount Snow you could do other things. They had an outside pool. If you didn't ski, you could go swimming. A heated pool outside and watch the steam coming up around your body. I had almost a bus full of kids going to Mount Snow. We did this for 3 different times. The only one time I had a problem with it, I said, you've got to be on the bus at 3 o'clock because we've got to get home, try to get home before it's too dark. It's been a long day already. So you've got to be at 3 o'clock. One time I took 2 of my children along with me. Guess who wasn't out there at 3 o'clock? My daughter Lauren and her brother Jerry. I said, now what do I do? Do I leave my kids up in Vermont? Take these kids home? Then I get an answer to their mother, while we're going up to Vermont at 10 o'clock at night in the dark and it's snowing on. So they showed up. Laurie is all upset. Her glasses were still up on Mount Snow somewhere. What doesn't happen, you ride the lift up, but you cannot ride the lift down. That was the rule. These are 2 little kids, Danny, maybe 7 or 8. And they wouldn't even get on the lift. They had to walk down Mount Snow on ice. Probably the top third of the mountain was covered with ice. And they came down and somewhere she fell and dropped her glasses and couldn't find them. And I heard her say something about, I told Jerry, we got to get down. He's going to leave at 3. He'll leave us up here. So they were a little bit late, not much. So the kids went to Mount Snow. I said, wait, 2 or 3 different times.
Again, it's all public service. It's all serving the public. It's all taking care of the town. It's taking care of the people in the town, except for your kids and you live in the mountaintop. But you were involved in the 1970s with Sturbridge K-9 unit. And it's not the K-9 unit we have today, but you were doing something different back then.
I went to the dogs.
You went to the dogs. And also, when you did this, there's also a pretty funny story that's associated with this thing. Fill us in. What was the K-9?
The police department, some of the boys, the police department said, they should have a K-9 unit. A trooper from New Hampshire, we lost, I'm not sure who it was now, he'd been lost. And he had come up here with his bloodhound and was helping the Sturbridge police track this person down. Anyway, he donated a bloodhound to the police department. So now they will start a cop to bind. You better start your K-9 unit with the dog And he'll teach you how you lead the dog or not lead the dog, let the dog lead you. And so we had 8 or 9 members in the canine meeting. And I had known them, each of them, and for a number of years I knew of them. And I started hanging around with them. And they said, why don't you be take care of our trails? We train one day a week, usually Saturday morning or Sunday morning, and you go out and lay a trail somewhere in Sturbridge, or Southbridge, I guess. So that was my job. I'd go out and lay a trail out through the woods, over Stallion Hill, and they'd give me about an hour and a half head start, and then they'd come out with a dog. One that we had at one time, 5 bloodhounds, and they would go out with the bloodhound. The idea that a long leash on it, and the dog would lead them by scent. And I was always amazed at how well a bloodhound can track. What's the word? Not olfactory.
The olfactory.
Okay.
The olfactory senses.
They have more of their cells in their noses than any other dog. That's why a bloodhound is probably called a bloodhound, because it can track because of its ability to follow the trail, follow the scent that is, whether you do a human or whether you find a piece of clothing that if you're looking for a bad guy, excuse me, and you drop something, or if you've got a vehicle, they'll set the dog off the seat. And they say, find it. And they'll go off, and the dog will take them here, there. And the one thing that none of the policemen like is when the dog will take them through the pucker brush. You know, with all that thorny stuff that's out there, the berries. And inevitably, they soon get indoctrinated. Just keep follow the dog. That's where the dog is. If you don't know what's going to come out on the inside. And they did their share. We had a couple of calls. And I was not able to carry a weapon, so therefore I couldn't go out and really track with the guys. So I listened to them. We needed a vehicle. And I guess I used my old sword and I can do that. I'll find a vehicle somewhere. I went by the Kerboy Auto Emporium on the Nashbark Road. They call it a junkyard. This is my street. And I saw a Ford box van up there, one of the smaller versions. And I said, that kind of job. So I'm going to talk to the Kerboys, told them what I wanted. Said, okay. Yeah, I forgot it was money, $250. So I said, no, I don't have $250. So I went to one of the optical companies in Southbridge. And I talked to Mr. Dean McGrory, and I said, got a K9 unit, they've got a couple of dogs, they would like something to take the dogs with and set up as a home base. I found a vehicle for it. Is your company be willing to pay for the vehicle? Certainly. Beautiful. We got the vehicle, they had it painted at the body shop over here. Big insignia of a bloodhound on the side. And my job was, if I didn't drive, as soon as we get to the site, they knew where they were going. We had a table in there, they dropped down, and I'd sit there with a map and a radio, and I'd pop where they were from what they were telling me. And I said, okay, you're going to go to Stonewall, or you're going to go there. And they would follow along what the dog was doing, but at least knowing what terrain was going to follow. And it was always a joy when they came back. We had a find that they had found the person they were looking for. Sometimes it was a not so nice guy. Can I go a little further with this?
Yes, please do.
So my job was, as I say, was to lay a trail, and I decided, well, let's really see how it works out. What happens if your dog gets tired? You get tired, but you've got another dog available. Then sometimes you go with 2 dogs. Can a dog sniff from one dog off a trail, and the new dog want to be scented on the trail that they just came up? I don't think that'll work. I took him over to Stallion Hill, in and see what they do. There's a guy inside the gym that's got a helicopter. Sir, I don't know you, you don't know me, but I'm with the K9, and they want to lay a trail that's going to be kind of long. Would you be willing to take me with you and we'll track them, tracking the dog? He said, yeah, that sounds like fun. They're in a helicopter. I'll tell you their version. We're flying over, hovering a bit. And he said, no, he wouldn't. I said, hey, honey. I forget my comment I said. A1 to K9. It's him. I said, okay, we're on the scene. We're going to follow you on in case we're into a snag or whatever. Went up Stallion Hill, and they swapped dogs at the top of Stallion Hill. Lead Mine Road comes out to Stallion Hill Road. Used to be Lead Mine. That's one of my grumbles that he was talking about before. Lead Mine Road started on 131 by the village entrance. Went up over the hill, came out on Route 15 where it does now. And I got all bent out of shape saying, well, that's not right. His road that's been Lead Mine Road since the Indians were here, probably. That didn't mean anything. The developer, without anybody's permission, renamed it, gave all those people your addresses, such and such, Lead Mine Road. So I lost that town. But when I put mail up in Fisk there, before I went on the route, I had to come down to Sturbridge Post Office and get their mail and resort everything to put their mail. I was not happy with that. Anyway.
Bob, there's a thing really close to your heart in front of the town hall, the Veterans Memorial. And there was some changes in that in the past 10, 12 years or so. But you were the prime motivator to get that rebuilt and put up there in front of the town hall, and the way it is now.
Yes.
Yes. And it looks wonderful, and it's very much in keeping with what it once was.
Well, we've had it on the road in front of the town hall since right after the Second World War. It was made of wood. One unique thing about our honor rolls that I haven't seen on anyone else is the last names, 5 names, at the bottom right corner. Wags, W-A-G-S. 5 people in Sturbridge donated their dogs for the war effort, and they were sent to military units to use however they use them. There are 3 German Shepherds, and I forgot what the other 2 dogs were. No Chihuahuas.
The original 1943 honor roll, those dogs were listed there.
Those were listed on it.
Yeah.
Then there was another new honor roll built in 1948. Beautiful. Those aerial champions. I would call him a master stonemason. He built it. His voice helped him. And it was beautiful with native stone. So it's Sturbridge honor roll on the top line granite. Well, to make a short story even longer, I came by one day. Remember when they were renovating the town hall? They were doing a lot of things in the town hall. I came by that beautiful honor roll, as you see in the picture on the left. That's what I'm talking about. Was in pieces, each one about this big, on the front lawn of the town hall. And I said, what the hell is this? They destroyed it. These builders have been working inside and come out and destroyed it. Had to use an excavator. A man who was in charge of the honor roll. The plans called for it. I saw them myself. Remember in front of the Sturbridge Town Hall, there used to be like a loop. You could drive in and run and pay your taxes, or you could go into the town clerk if you were going to stay on or drop passengers off and drive out in that second driveway. It was supposed to be moved from where it was in front to the end of that driveway, facing Maple Street or Confederated Church. That's what the plans were for. This guy had to have taken it upon himself, and I don't know anybody else who would go before, to smash or have smashed the honor roll. There wasn't all these pieces. And I told him, I said, you wait. You wait till Memorial Day comes and all the veterans are here lined up and they want to know, Where's the honor roll? And one came, the first year, no one said a word. They said, you can't read it. The second year, several veterans came and said, when did they bring them back? I said, I didn't know. Bring what back? The honor roll. Where is it? I said, you didn't see it, did you? And they had, because when the stuff was picked up, probably within a day or two, while the old monument was in these pieces, it was carved away. They never knew what I had seen. I only wish to this very day I had a camera and taken a picture of it, because I don't know if anybody you might have that picture. So the new on the road was going to be built. Nobody had any ideas, but several veterans said, let's do something, we're going to have an honor roll. All these veterans are from World War II, Korea, Vietnam, their names should be on there.
Well, you honored all those that served with the memorial. There's one gentleman, one officer that Lieutenant Charles Collins, that died during World War II. You were a young boy when this happened. The story was with this pilot was flying over Sturbridge during World War II, and he ran into problems with his plane. What happened, Bob?
Lieutenant Charles Collins from Baraboo, Wisconsin. Baraboo was known for the bomb invading service used to day up there, I guess, in Baraboo for the winter, and then they go on the road across during the summer. That's where he was from. He was flying over Sturbridge. We lived on Falkland Road. We heard an airplane one night around 9:30. I was doing the dishes. I was the only child, so I guess we got to do the dishes at home. We heard an airplane during the thunderstorm going, just with time and go. Then, boom, way in the distance. My father said, he crashed. I said, I'm a little kid going like, airplanes don't crash. What's he talking about? Next morning, my mother's listening to WTHE. An airplane crashed in East Brookfield last night. East Brookfield last night. It did crash. Dad was a member of the Massachusetts State Guard at the time, which is, I think, the forerunner of the National Guard today. And he was called out to search for the pilot. They knew where the plane crashed, certainly, because of the explosion and the neighborhood. They didn't know what it was, but they knew that something happened. My father came back with a couple of pieces of airplane, small pieces. Lieutenant Collins was a rookie, so to speak, in the United States Army Air Force. He was on a training flight that night by himself. I think there may have been some other planes, but not in the area where he was. He was running out of fuel during the storm. He radioed Bedford for directions so he could get home, bring the plane back. They gave him directions, but in the confusion of the storm and so forth, he missed something. And the next thing he knew, he was out of fuel. And he called and says, I'm out of fuel. And they told him, bail out. He bailed out. It took 10 days to find his body. Those 10 days, there were an average of about 1,100 searches. Civilians, military bases, certainly from Bedford, west of it, were searching for him. They were down in the area of Rocker Road. The road would take now at the intersection of River Road, where there used to be heap of candies. The road that comes around, one goes to the village, one goes to houses, and the entrance day before. They found his boot with right leg still in the boot. The only thing it did for them, they gave him a clue that his body must be somewhere near his, so they searched all this whole area. And still couldn't find him. A man who lived in Southbridge at the time was mowing a hayfield down at the corner of Ashbog Road and River Road, and the horse started getting fidgety. He was wondering, what's wrong with the horse? Got off the horse, unhooked the mower, got on the horse, let the horse go, and the horse took him down through the neighborhood, took him in a sandbag, and then he found the body. And he took him to Charlie Collins. Just to shorten all that up, I looked up the Collins family and told them we're going to dedicate a small plaque to his honor. And in front of the center schoolhouse, you'll see several honorables. There's one plaque that says Lieutenant Charles J. Collins. And it has, whoever made the plaque has what I call a caricature of the P-47 that's he was flying. And that's on the flag down in the left-hand corner, so that little airplane. A few years ago, Sylvia and I were taking a trip out towards the Midwest. And I said, I want to go to the grave. I hesitated a little bit. I had met the family. Oh, I asked the family, I sent a note to the family. It was better than monument in Charlie's honor. We're going to dedicate it on Memorial Day. And if you would like to come, we'd love to have you. We had 5 of his family come. One of them was named after Charlie Collins. They came home, and I took them up Stallion Hill, to the woods, to the place, and they saw the place where he passed away. Not where he passed away, his plane crash. And I gave them the pieces of his aircraft to take home. So, it was just something standing at the grave of the man that I heard in the air when we were home. He standing there.
How many, I've been going from here, as a 10-year-old boy, doing the dishes, and then many years later bringing him back and contacting the family of the lost pilot and doing what he did was very honorable. Now, one thing that you did do, and I never knew this until I was told about this, you used to have
The whole evening, boy. I'm having fun.
a radio show on WVSO with Dick Vaughn.
Yes.
Yes, and you used to talk about Sturbridge history then.
Right.
And how long did you do that for?
Over a year and a half, 2 years. Then I know just sort of beat it out. We had a good listener. How many of you used to listen to Dick Vaughn on WSO? He had a good listening audience. The only problem I had, he and I would discuss a subject about Sturbridge history, agreed, and I'd give 2 or 3 sentences, and he'd say, "Oh, that reminds me," and he'd start telling stories of his own, from his childhood, college days, and then back to you, and I'd tell a few. And I said, somewhere, this changes in midstream every week. One of the speakers I had met a lady from Warren, and I said, she was in charge of the library. I said, I'd like to ask you to be a guest on the radio program in Southbridge and talk about Warren history. That's probably the best program I ever did as president of the society. I counted the number of towns, I counted the number of meetings they had, and it was 8 each. I said, I didn't get a speaker from each of these towns to talk about the history of their town. We know nothing about the Brookfields, we know nothing about the towns in Connecticut. It was easy, just ask, and you shall receive. They all answered, they do it, so they get scheduled. And I said, well, I know this lady, would you like to be a speaker and talk about Warren? She thought about it, so she would. And that's our first days getting together. My wife had passed away 10 years before. And I was kind of scouting around. I didn't find anybody who would want me. But she kind of said a few things and said, well, it's my constant companion. And I don't mind saying day and night. I run too far.
Now, one thing you did, when we talked about earlier on with the Lions, it was the bandstand is really important. You made that happen for us, the Sturbridge bandstand. And it was a matter of getting people to do it and also getting funds for it. And you took it upon yourself to raise the funds.
Yeah, well, it comes in, when you have an idea, or if you're in an organization, you come up with an idea, guess who gets to be the first chairman? Oh, your idea, you go with it. I just thought it was a good idea. I didn't want to run it. Well, when I was in my younger days, there were concerts on the common. I'd come down, and they usually had at least a couple, for several years, the same group, the Brzezinski Polish brass band from Webster was going to play. Common wasn't kept home like it is today. They're sitting there in the chairs, but with grass, but yay high. And I can't imagine trying to play the trombone and scratching your legs and beating off the mosquitoes and blowing the horn at the same time. So they need a bandstand. I didn't put the bandstands. I looked at the one in Barry. I said, you could probably do something like that. So I brought it to Lions Club. We had just been formed in 1966, and they're looking for a project to draw attention to. We've got a Lions Club in town now. We can do things now. The main thing of Lions is eyes. Where we bought eyeglasses for school children or the elderly, whatever we could do. So I broached the subject. I said, and I told them the same thing about the bandstand. I said, I think we can put a bandstand on the common. Okay? So we're going to get permission. I went to the Board of Selectmen. Oh, that would be a great idea. We've always needed a bandstand. Never had one. Da. Oh, you've got to go to Parks and Rec Committee. They're in charge of the common. So I went to a committee meeting, spoke to them. Oh, that'd be nice. Here we go. We're moving right along. However, they decided they needed a public hearing. You people that have know the forms of government we have in New England, you're going to have a public hearing. Who shows up?
The nose.
The yes is, they stay home because this is a done deal. That's a hell of an idea. I ain't gonna take my night. Well, people that lived on the common were not pleased with the bandstand on the common. First of all, one said, children are going to play on it. And I said, yeah, they're probably going to carve their initials on it, like they do on every other bandstand I've looked at. Kids do it, and it's expected. The Lions Club will keep it maintained. And that was a big mouthful to say. And the other is a resident close to the common. That you won't use that bandstand 24 hours in a whole year. Yeah, there's two now. I went back to the club and said, things aren't looking too rosy. They said, why don't you give it up? I said, no, we can win this. We're not on vacation. Every once in 7 years I used to go down Alabama. Guys I was in service with lived in down south. And we'd get on to visit them and their kids. My kids had a blast. About 7 kids. It was a different world for them. It was a different world for those kids down there to hear these Yankees coming down. Anyway, I came home, picked up late newspapers that we hadn't been getting. Bottom of the paper. It's going to take an act of the legislature to put a bandstand on Sturbridge Common. What are they talking about? Well, things go their way, and that's what it took. I went back to the club and said, you're right, we ain't doing it. None of them go to the legislature. I can see this taking 2 years, maybe 3 or 4. They never get voted to this have a bandstand. 26 years went by. Rosario Chamberlain, Master Stonemason, as spoke about before, stopped me on the common at a concert and said, Bob, hi, Dad, what do you want? I want to build a bandstand on the common. Oh, you do? I got plans. And we had plans for it. I remember with Bob, good old Bob on Hall Road was the architect. And he had drawn a sketch of what we were looking for, of the Barry bandstand. And so we had to sketch. I said, I've got plans. How good was that? He said, okay. Well, now we're going to have to get somebody to build it. And one of the members said, oh, Al Allen, he's a member of the Lions Club, Oxford. So I asked Al, I said, can we do this? Yeah, he said, I think George will do it. And a couple of the guys, Dean Stickney. He said, I think they're going to make their time. These guys already had jobs planned for the summer. because each in his own, it's craftsmen were called upon a lot because of the workmanship they did. They gave every day that summer building a bandstand. They'd never built a bandstand, but they had a sketch of what it should look like. And so instead of being just a small bandstand, 4 or 6 sides, I've been to Quinnebog, Connecticut. We had a new bandstand, wider and deep, a little bit deeper than what our bandstand was going to be. And I said, oh, that's a lot nicer. You could have dance recital. We had maybe 2 dance groups in Sturbridge. I said, they could have recitals on that bandstand. You could do a lot of things on that bandstand because you've got the room. So I convinced them to do that. You guys will do it.
You flood City Hall, you flood City Hall, you go to bandstand.
We got much better ones. And they were, as I say, they spent a summer, almost, it's seldom that they didn't want to miss the day. I'd go up to come over here to $100 and get coffee and bring it over. And I was I called myself the clerk in charge. I didn't do anything, I wasn't in charge of anything. I thought I should have a title for myself. Spending all this time coming down. But they built what you see today. The first time I saw it happened at prom time, go by that bandstand and I'm thinking to myself, I wish that guy up on the hill could see what I'm looking at. Limousines parked all the way around the common and down the side streets. Girls in their prom gowns, guys in their tuxedos, on the bandstand, getting the pictures taken by families. Each group would go up, that family would take their pictures, they'd come down, another group would go. I said, that, I can't take a breath, paid for the bandstand in my mind. But since then, with the concerts on the common, each year we sponsored with the Rotary Club, who's also looking to take part in sponsoring. We heard that that's the other thing I'm saying. You could have a brass band, the big brass band that you see on television and heard on radios for years. And there's a group that I know in Worcester, and Oscar David playing, and they have been doing it. And both clubs, really, this is not the main thing they're supposed to be doing, spending the money on music. This goes by eyeglasses. And I forgot what the main question of Rotary is. I apologize for that. But they kicked in half, and they were spending big bucks for these concerts. But when you look at the crowd out there, yes, it was needed. I don't care what that man said. And there was usually all summer long with every concert. Runs through my head what I was told. Won't be used.
In 1988, you came along with a whole bunch of other folks in town for the 200th anniversary of the town 250th anniversary. And this, you might see it as a memory.
I did not climb Pilgrimage. Oh, town is 250 years old. It's going to be a committee. It's not like a committee meeting. There's, I think, 5 of us, and then there maybe being 7. And we talked about what we're going to do for the 250th. Well, couldn't get too much enthusiasm. Yeah, but we can do something on a weekend. That's a weekend. With all the talent we have around, with all of the people, that's 250th anniversary means a lot more than any other anniversary in the commission, looking at the bicentennial from 1938. So I said, how about we do a project each month? Each month? Well, you're going to find something. There you go. I thought I saw that motorcycle somewhere.
This is something that was a grassroots effort and this parade that you put on. Now, number one, Bob, what his idea was to have a function every month for the entire anniversary here. And this parade was the largest that Worcester County had ever seen before. It had that also, and there was also a large ball that was done in June. That a grand ball that was done that year in June. And this was part of it.
Blue dandelions? The town brought into the idea an anniversary ball. They weren't going to have a dance, they were going to have a ball. And all the members met on the weekend, and we had people coming in that rented costumes. Everybody that came to that dance, we filled the ballroom with the sheriff. It was all in costume. And I'll tell you, some handsome guys and beautiful ladies, all dolled up, and the band from New Britain, Connecticut played.
There you are.
Fancy dancing.
You were dressed to the nines then.
Yeah.
And
Just to the nine onwards.
But this was in the second. You say something at the very end. I want to bring this very close to what you have to say about your outfit. Until people then came back to you. Listen. When the NBC Peacock dies, I'm putting in for it. One thing that is really, that I really know a lot for is the old burial ground next door to the public house. And every year on Memorial Day and then on Veterans Day, and it was a tradition that started when you were in school next door, of you as a student putting the geraniums on the graves of the veterans.
1939, I was in first grade at Hilton Center School. And the teacher, Mrs. Lewis, first grade, Miss Callahan downstairs. They brought us all outside down by the gate to the old burial ground. How many of you have not been in the old burial ground? Oh, you've all been there? I doubt that. There's some nice people there. They don't talk back. They're clean. They don't leave leaves around like dogs do. It's a nice place to visit. Anyway, for years I thought, I remember that day. There were little potted geraniums in a box on the ground. They said, each of you take a flower, wherever you see a flag, you put a flower down. And we stamped it around the cemetery, putting these flowers in place. And I kept that in my head, said, that was something, I don't know, I've never seen it done. I enjoyed it. I said, maybe I'll get the Lions to do this. And I procrastinated. And in 2017, I said, if I'm going to do this, I better get cracking. I'm getting along in years, and I'm not going to be up to this. So I went to the principal, Mrs. Perry at the Burgess. I said, here's what I'd like to do. And I told her about what we did with the flowers out. I said, the public house has agreed, they'll furnish the flowers. I said, I need some children. Can I get some children? She said, I like that idea. I'll send a busload down. So every Memorial Day, the bus from Burgess comes down at 10 o'clock. I sometimes get on the bus and come to this. It's a cemetery, no running, no loud noise. Be respectful to those who are buried here. And they get off the bus, they go through the gates, each pick up a geranium, and the Lions Club members have been helping me daily, and the volunteers been having the geraniums out. The kids would go through the burial ground, placing down the flowers. I don't know, it might have been 2020. I thought, when we had parades on Memorial Day, there were different groups that I don't see anymore. And one was the DAR, the Daughters of the American Revolution. To be a daughter, you have to be a direct descendant of a Revolutionary War soldier. And I said, oh. whether it should be 2 million then. I'll ask. So I went online, DAR, well, the headquarters out of Washington. And
You did this with the DAR, and they contributed a lot to the Deal Burial Ground, didn't they?
yes,
They did. They did. There's something that, as a plaque out front.
there's a big plaque, bronze plaque in the front on the left-hand pillar. It was donated by the Daughters of the American Revolution. When I made calls for a couple of the presidents, known as regents, invited them to come, and they came. And since then, now we've got about 5 chapters that represented both Memorial Day and nothing's, nothing's done in Sturbridge on Veterans Day. It comes and goes, and I think the Legion opens up. But there's no participation. So I said, why don't we do Veterans Day also? Veterans Day will bring new American flags. The public house again picked it up. Mr. Glick says, of course we will. We're neighbors to the burying ground. And I remember that, him saying that word for word. We're neighbors.
We have a good crowd there every year on Veterans Day and Memorial Day, too.
You're invited the Thursday before Memorial Day, we'll be here at 10 o'clock. The Thursday before Veterans Day, which is usually a weekend or a few days after, we will be here that day at 10 o'clock. A bus of children will show up. You'll see in the crowd these ladies with white uniforms, blue jackets, will be there. We also made contact with the sons of the American Revolution. Again, you have to be a direct descendant to belong to these organizations. One of the sons came here, and he says, I have an uncle buried here. And Doug Quigley over there, but taking him over and showed grandfather, grandfather's grave. That to me made my day. If we had somebody come and have somebody buried here. But each day we do a ceremony, a short ceremony. I invite the state senator, the state representative, and I give Todd Smollett credit. He's had meetings going on in Boston that day. He comes here first, and I hope they don't talk him going on the turnpike with the because I'm sure it's how it comes. And usually,
We're doing good on the time, Bill. The breakfast isn't going to be made just yet, but we're doing good on time.
okay.
What I do want to talk about, I want to talk really quickly on, we've got a couple more minutes, on the Robinson Crusoe camp. Robinson Crusoe camp, for those who don't know, it was America's first co-ed camp, and it was here in Sturbridge. And it was from the 1930s until the 1960s. It was right on some land outside, to south, immediately south of Old Sturbridge Village. And they were there for an awfully long time. When they stopped having the camp there in the 1970s, early 1970s, Old Sturbridge Village bought it with the intention of doing another Old Sturbridge Village, but a later year. It never really got off the ground, but the camp eventually was sold to the town, and Mass Fish and Wildlife took it over. But an awful lot of those old campers from the 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s came back, and Bob gave them a tour of the remnants of the camp before they tore it all down. And in fact, the video was done by Bruce here at our, and that's still quite an item online. That was a very special day, and I talked to some of them, and that really meant an awful lot for you to be there that day for that.
Well, we did it's a verbal thing with about 5 campers that I found in Worcester County, and they wanted to see the camp, how's it changed, is there anything going on at the time it wasn't. So I led them around the camp, and we go to the buildings. And, I remember one man coming out of the drugstore and he said, do you know anything about Camp Robinson Crusoe? I said, yeah, a little bit. He said, I was a camper there when I was a kid. And I said, you want to go see it? And he said, we can. I said, well, we don't make ourselves too visible because we get kicked out. And I took him out. We went into one of the cabins. I could feel the hair. Right there, that's my bunk, that's my bunk, I slept right there. I said, they just paid for my trip over to Crusoe. Listen to this guy get that excited about it. So, was it not that? Took these people for the tour, and on the walk, one of them said, Bob, can we do this again sometime? I said, yeah. But we'll bring a tape recorder, and we record what we were all talking about, so when we'll have it recorded. I said, yeah, we can do that. The same week, I went by Bruce Butcher's office at the town hall with the Scribner's television man. He said, Bob, you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to make a documentary of Camp Robinson Crusoe. Do you know anything about it? Yeah. I said, it's funny you should say that. Because just a couple of weeks ago, I was with a group from there that came, and they want to tape record as we walk around. I said, documentary on film? Yeah. Okay. I'm with it. So he and I sat down, what did we do? I said, okay, I'll start making calls. Making calls to one campus, give me 2 more names. Another call, maybe 3 names, 4 names. We ended up with close to 200 people on a specific Saturday. We filled the theater at the village with former campers and some of their family members. Planned to meet and we showed the film, the first time the film had been seen. It opens with singing a song that they all sang at all the campfires. They started off with a song like the theme song. And when it came up on the film, I started singing it. I had learned it by then. Forgotten how. I started singing. Pretty sure that room was filled with former campers singing their song. Made my day again. Anything I've done always seems to come back as being that was a good thing. And it makes me pleased, makes me proud. I don't brag. I don't, unless I get an opportunity to say these things like you. But I enjoy it.
One thing you did was a mystery in town, was the lost and found your centenary sign in town, the test with a lead mine sign. And that was missing for like 20 years. And a friend of yours, who's a farmer, found it in a field, and then not too far from it, and you went and recovered it.
Yeah, I met him at Shaw's. He said, oh, he said, I got this sign behind my house over in the field. He said, at least I can read some of the words. I said, that sounds like the sign I've been living for. It's been growing for over 20 years. I used to be right at the corner of 215 and Red Mine Road. So I asked him, I said, Jerry, I said, will you come with me? I think Judy came, or was a man. Might have been there. Came with me. We went down. I said, that's it! I've been looking for that for 25 years. And I said, I always thought it ended up in college dormitories.
You had that refurbished too. You had
Yes. Todd Smoller had just become state representative, and I offered my services to Sharon Sturbridge. And took him around a little tour, came by my garage, and I said, see that sign over there? And I told him the story about it, having it. I said, I've got to get it refurbished. And I said, I'll take care of it. And that's kind of how Smoller is. And he said, I had to send away. A couple of weeks later, pickup truck showed up and said, you got a sign that needs to be repainted or something? I said, no, right there. He said, we'll have it back in a few weeks. And they went, and I got a call from a neighbor a couple of weeks later, said, the sign is back and it's put in place. I said, great. He said, it says something on about a school. I forget what he told me now. I said, that wasn't on the sign. I said to my wife, let's go look at the sign. He called and says it's up. Look. That's the one that belongs in front of Hitchcock. Let's go to Greenfield. Let's go to the lead mine over here in Greenfield. Fortunately, all this took place probably in a 3 or 4 hours period. And I had his demands to deliver that, his phone number. I told him, he said, I'm sorry. He said, they gave me the signs, they didn't tell me where they went, I took a shot at it. He said, "That's not wrong." I said, "Well," he said, "I'm coming right back." And he was from the Cape. When he came back, he was trips here and there. He came back and put them back in place. The world never knew that I was quick enough to take pictures of each side in its place of honor for a few hours.
Well, Bob, this evening has been a wonderful evening of your reminiscing, and you're also, and to find out, for those who don't know Bob, the multitude of things he's done. It's just not been the bandstand or the war memorial, it's been everything you can touch my hands on. And I have here everything from tour guide to school bus driver to mail carrier to historian, selectman, moderator. There's been an awful lot of things in town that you have done. I have a whole stack of newspaper articles about Robert and Bob Briere, and I can only fit a few underneath there. But I just want to say, from all of us, Bob, to you, thank you for all you've done. We also have some things. Yes? Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
They're not going to eat it, are they?
Oh, God, no. So, first of all, what I'd like to do is I'd like to have, can we have the folks that we spoke to, my friends here? I think you can recognize them.
Oh, here comes the hierarchy. Boston speaks. I'm Todd. Ryan. Second time in 2 weeks. These guys do more for us than most of the politicians we've had running their position for this town. All you have to do is ask, and it's done.
Cost me $5 for him to say that. Just I am so honored to be here tonight with my good friend, Senator Ryan Fatman. Thank you so much. What a wonderful and fitting tribute to a wonderful and decent man from this community. You know, I was looking back in my notes, because in this business, in the state legislature, when you deal with people in your constituency, you know, we take notes, we create folders, and I was looking back in my Robert Briere notes, and I realized that those notes took up a whole cabinet. I've known Bob, believe it or not, for about 25 years when I started out as a legislative aide to my predecessor, Reed Hillman, who's right here in the town of Sturbridge. And what a relationship it has grown in over the course of the last 25 years. As I was preparing for tonight, I looked back at the folders I had on Bob Briere and was absolutely amazed at the number of issues that Bob and I had communicated on over the years. All kinds of issues that you couldn't possibly even comprehend. In addition to some of the things that he talked about here tonight, talking about general history of Massachusetts, talking about legislation, talking about things that were just happening. And over the course, every single year, 2 or 3 times a year, Bob and I and Sylvia, we get together right downstairs and we solve all the problems of the world, talking about this.
They listen to us.
Yeah, which is absolutely wonderful. But you know, one of the best things about Bob's legacy is the fact that he wants no credit for any of the positive things that he's done for this community and for so many people in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And it is a rare find to get a good and decent person like Bob Briere as a role model. One of the things in terms of his legacy, I think, that is most remarkable is when we go into places like our school systems on Memorial Day, and Bob comes there and he shares a little bit of history and a little bit of a positive message to those kids, and talk about a wonderful role model for every single one of them to look up to. We are blessed to have Bob Briere as a son in this community, and we're fortunate to have him in this Commonwealth. So, to my good friend Bob Briere, we've got a couple of recognitions for you here tonight. My good friend Senator Fatman is going to share with you what we call a joint resolution. So we give out 2 kinds of recognitions to people. We give out citations from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and we give out the really prestigious one, and that's the joint resolution, which the Senator is going to share with you in a moment. The difference between those 2 things is a joint resolution is actually something that we file together in the House and Senate, and it's read as part of the historical record of the Commonwealth in our legislature. So now we will enshrine Bob Briere in the history of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts right in our historical record, something that's pretty impressive. But beyond that recognition, I thought we would give you something that you can perch on the shelf here, Bob. So this wonderful little recognition that we have here, which says, it's got our Commonwealth seal on it, and it says, presented to Robert Briere in recognition of your commitment to community, Commonwealth, and to country. Godspeed to our good friend Robert Briere. God bless him. What a wonderful man. I'm honored to be here with my good friend who I've worked with for many years, both in the House and now in the Massachusetts State Senate, my good friend, Senator Ryan Fatman.
Thank you, Todd, and good evening, everyone. Mr. Briere, it's an honor to be with you again. We got to do this 2 weekends ago when the Daughters of American Revolution honored him in Southbridge at the Wellsworth Hotel. And I got to present that other citation that was one you don't have to pay for, Bob, which is good. And when I presented to him, I told him the real value of this is it gets you out of a speeding ticket. You just put it in the back of your windshield. And unfortunately, Todd had a commitment that day, and I said, you know, just tell him that Todd Smollett told you it gets you out of a speeding ticket to the police. Don't tell him Ryan Fatman did that. But joking aside, I had the honor and privilege of attending one of those Memorial Day ceremonies the first year in 2021 when I learned that I would be representing the town of Sturbridge due to redistricting. And it's the only year I've been able to go because every year the Senate does its budget that week in May right before Memorial Day, and it usually wraps up on that Thursday of the ceremony. But emblematic of that event is service. And this man has given the service to his community, to his country, and to all of us. And that is something that all communities, they build the back of a community on men like him and women like him. And so we should be very grateful that people like Bob exist because they make our lives all a little greater and better. And to honor that, we have a resolution from both the House of Representatives and the Massachusetts State Senate. And as Todd mentioned, it is voted on and enshrined in the record of the history of the Commonwealth. And I will be happy to report that that was a unanimous vote. So no one voted against it.
The taxpayers going to come find me?
So, resolution, the Massachusetts General Court congratulating Robert Briere on his lifetime achievement recognition by the Sturbridge Historical Society. Whereas Robert Briere of the town of Sturbridge will be publicly recognized by the Sturbridge Historical Society for his lifetime achievement at the first presentation of the season to be held on September 26, 2024 at the Public House Historic Inn in the town of Sturbridge. And whereas Robert was born in the town of Sturbridge in 1933, served in the United States Air Force in the 1950s, and built a career in public service as mail carrier for the United States Postal Service, a longtime school bus driver in the town of Sturbridge, a town of Sturbridge firefighter, an organization of the town of Sturbridge Canine Unit, a district governor and longtime member of the Sturbridge Lions Club, a member of the Select Board and the town of Sturbridge, and town moderator of the town of Sturbridge. And whereas Robert has made efforts to promote the preservation of history of the town of Sturbridge by organizing the annual placement of the geraniums on the gravestones of the Revolutionary War veterans in the old burial ground in the town of Sturbridge with the National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution each Memorial Day, establishing an annual Veterans Day flag placing ceremony with the Burgess Elementary School students at said gravestones and settings, a stone honoring United States World War II Army pilot, Lieutenant Charles J. Collins, who perished in a bailout that Robert attempted to rescue in the town of Sturbridge. And whereas Robert's love for local and national history and history of our country inspired him to travel the Commonwealth documenting and photographing historic tercentenary signs illustrating special historical events and Franklin mile markers along historic postal routes. And whereas Robert was a founding member of the Sturbridge Historical Society in the early 1980s, and in 1988 he helped organize what was the largest parade in Worcester County history for the 250th anniversary of the town of Sturbridge in a year's worth of events leading up to the parade, including a ball for residents of the town of Sturbridge. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Massachusetts General Court hereby congratulates Robert Briere on his Lifetime Achievement recognition by the Sturbridge Historical Society and further extends to him its gratitude for his dedication to the town of Sturbridge, its children, its veterans, its history, and best wishes for continued success in all future endeavors. Signed by President of the Senate, Karen Spilka, signed by Speaker of the House, Ron Mariano, and signed by your state legislative delegation and admirers, Todd Smollett and Ryan Fadden. Congratulations.
Thank you, Senator Conlon. Thank you, Senator Representative Smollett. And we have one other gentleman who would like to speak to you too.
Thank you, everyone. I'm Jane Goodwin. I'm the chair of the Board of Selectmen here in town. We similarly have a proclamation in Mr. Briere's honor, but rather than read it because it touches on a lot of the same points that have been made so eloquently here tonight, I just want to say I've known Mr. Briere my whole life.
Lucky you.
And I live across the street, one of these houses on the Common, built in 1806. And in that house, there's a 2-month-old little girl. And that little girl is going to enjoy 1,001 things in this community that Bob Briere has done. So rather than repeat all the accomplishments and his commitment to service and the hours and hours that took, I just want to have everybody just take a moment later on tonight and think about, all the fun stories, the dramatic stories, but all the toil that Bob has done for this community. Every day, he makes light of it, and he will joke, but it's hard. It was hard work, and Mr. Briere, throughout my entire life, has worked hard for this community. I'm getting myself emotional. but
You will not the only one.
but you mean the world to me, and my daughter doesn't know it yet, but you mean the world to my entire family. And thank you, Bob. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So,
I want to invite everybody to help themselves to the cake that's so lovingly prepared by the public house and offered to us. And thank you all for coming. And if you want to just hang around and just shoot the bowl for a little bit of Bob, I'm sure he'll do that.
May I say thank you to each and every one of you that is here. And I saw somebody in the back. Michael, could you come down here for just a moment?
Sorry?
You. Yeah, you.
I'll shake your hand first. Thank you, Bob, for all you do.
Okay. Michael Good, the innkeeper at the public house.
I'll just say that Bob, when I came to Sturbridge 20 years ago, my first tour was in your van. Todd was there. Todd and I got a tour in your van, and that's where my lessons started in Sturbridge. And I've seen Bob regularly since then, and the answer is always yes. Because Bob is a champion for this community. He really is. It's hard to say no to Bob because he's diligent and he cares so much. He does. He cares, and thank you, Bob.
Look, it's nice to walk into Michael's office and say, I need something. The newest project, I don't know, my mind just doesn't stop, and what mind I have left, I guess. Next year will be really the start of the Queen Semi-Centennial in the United States. And I don't know how many of you have seen markers and signs, and you'll see a lot more. The 250th anniversary of America. I'm sure you're going to see a lot more. I hope you take the opportunity to do something for your country. The country has done a lot for all of us. And there'll be events going on. There's a big plaque on the left pillar of the old burial ground. It was given to us by the state regent of the Daughters of American Revolution. Present that day was the president of the Daughters of the American Revolution, who was in Washington. She came to Sturbridge to be part of that first plaque given out in Massachusetts. I understand there are 26 of them. It's a big one. And so take a chance. And I guess I'd like to take this by saying, take pride in your community, give it a break, help out where you can. And visit the cemeteries. Very few people go back to the cemeteries. One sad story, if I take a second. I went to the Corps of Engineers and said, I want to do a little bit about what took place with the moving of the cemetery in St. Anne's, which is over across the water. And I know where the bodies have been brought to right off Arnold Road. There were 600. However, there were 200 bodies unnamed. They had no identification because they probably were the oldest residents of Sturbridge. And St. Anne's doesn't have a record of them. But they were all disinterred and brought over in probably 2 specific places over there. That's, to me, is sad, probably one of the saddest things I've ever found out. But everything else has been glorious, and it's because everybody has supported any of the events that we spoke about tonight. Because without your support, that wouldn't have happened either. Thank you. Thank you all.
Help yourself.
And we have taken it back, compliments of the public house, and thank them for this special. They went overboard tonight. Please come up and say hi to Bob. He does have a lot of time. He's got an appointment in a police cruiser for a ride home.
How many of you have?